Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award nominee. We are so delighted that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Our guest today is Jeff Kubiak, here to celebrate his brand new book, It's Me. Hey, before our guest comes in, we gave a sneak preview of the Solve It for Kids podcast here on Reading with Your Kids, and it was so popular, it's like spun off. It spun off into its own thing. And my buddy, our dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, is here to tell us a little bit about what's going on with this great new podcast. Hey, Jennifer, what's up?
Hi, Jed. Oh, I am so excited about our new podcast. We've been getting some great reviews. Everybody wants to find out what's going on and meet and listen to some of our scientists and engineers. We have done how do you map an underwater forest?
Yeah.
We have done how do you cut a person in half safely, of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We have talked about improving your connection with water by going on a water walk, and we have watched Vanessa Brantley Newton create illustrations that come to life.
I took a water walk with my amazing niece. We had such a great time. I did fall into the water, but it was really, really fun. And I love the fact that all of our guests are giving our wonderful listeners challenges, really fun challenges that they can do together as a family. And that's so cool. Hey, tell everybody where they can find Solve It for Kids, because it's not on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's its own thing.
So please, if you want to keep listening, go over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and subscribe. And you can download all 4 of the first episodes that we have, plus listen to all the new ones we have coming out. You can also find on Stitcher Radio and, of course, through our website, solveitforkids.com.
Jennifer, thanks so much. Thanks for letting me be part of this awesome podcast.
Well, we make a great STEM team, don't you think?
Absolutely. All right, join us over at solveitforkids.com. Joining us right now from Northern California, he is returning to the show to celebrate the publication of a brand new book called It's Me. Please welcome back Jeff Kubiak. Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. How about yourself?
Doing well. It's wintertime is sneaking in here to Boston, and that does not make me happy. I am officially an old, grumpy old man, I think.
Well, we're finally getting a little bit of cool weather, which is helping with all the crazy wildfires. I mean, today is the first day it hasn't been 90 in 3 months. Wow. So, we need the cool weather right now.
Yeah. Jeff and I were speaking. Jeff is an educator as well as an author, and he's taking some time off to focus on writing. But we're talking about the state of education right now as the schools all around the country are dealing with the pandemic. And, you were mentioning there's so much stress on kids, and for kids in California and the West Coast, they're also having to deal with the stress of all of these fires. It must be incredibly challenging to be a kid right now.
It really is. And so, not only do we have COVID, we have had the air so bad. Our air quality index, the AQI, has been, 150 to 300 to 400. And so our kids are not only not at school, they can't hang out with their friends, and they can't go outside to exercise because the air is so bad. And so it's really tough. The mental health of our society right now, it's a struggle. And that's the place where that needs the biggest fix, I think.
Yeah. Your first book, A Drop of Kindness, which was a beautiful book, it talks about how that simple act of kindness can, expand into a ripple of love. It seems like now more than ever we need those drops of kindness happening over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's funny. One drop of kindness really became it became a great wave of I think help at the right time. And yeah, like you said, now more than ever, I'm having schools call me and want to do author talks and give books because everyone in the world needs a little grace, needs a little empathy, compassion, and definitely kindness. You're seeing it in the news every day. It's just, we're struggling. We're struggling with a lot of things, and kindness really is kind of like the embedded attribute that I think we need to build upon.
Yeah. One of the things that I realize that if I want to be truly kind, then that I need to listen. I need to listen to find out what a person needs and not just assume that they need this and I can come and save them, but to actually have a dialogue and to find out what they need. And I think that's something that we're really missing these days. I don't think people are listening. I think the most polite people are just waiting for someone to talk so they can start talking, but we're not listening to each other.
No, and listening really is an art form, and that's something I've actually, as a school leader and a dad and a husband, I've been really working on that the last couple of years of listening. And unless we hear someone's story and where they really are, we don't know what to do to help. And you don't know if that person is, hurting inside, they had experienced a death, they're hungry, they're cold, they're broke, whatever it is. We have to listen, do less talking and more listening. I think the world would become a better place.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hearing someone's story, I'm really excited to hear the story behind It's Me.
Yeah, so It's Me came about because, when you work at different schools and coach different athletes and travel in different places, you start to really see patterns. And I think over the last couple of years, some of our groups and individuals have become really marginalized and, and actually oppressed. And so I've tried to think about equity, inclusion, and compassion and really get to see people. And so it's got vignettes, that are actual stories from either students or educators I've worked with or people, about seeing them. And when you see them, what might the societal perception be and the prejudice versus who they are. So, I have a snippet of a wonderful high school girl who is an LGBTQ, right? And who she is not who you see. And so it's got these powerful messages of, hey, this is me. This is who I am. Hey, I'm really awesome at this. Get to know me. It's got a Muslim American. It's got a boy in a wheelchair, African American male, phenomenal educator. My daughter has Tourette's. It's got a snippet of there, and it's just, it's got all these humans that don't typically have the voice and embracement of our culture.
As you're speaking and you're talking about having these different characters, including a girl in the LGBTQ community, and a Muslim American, and an African American young man. One of the things you also said is this person who has this, and this person who has that. And I think one of the things we forget is that we're more than the label that culture tends to put on us.
Yeah, and so when we, hey, I'm a boy, yeah, I happen to have ADHD, but that's not who I am, right? And so we can't define people by their labels. We can't define people by their looks or their conditions because, you might come across someone that, maybe they have a tough luck and they are living in their car, they maybe don't smell so good, and they haven't shaved or taken a shower, you don't know what's in that person's heart. You don't know where they've been unless you actually are willing to connect and have a conversation. And unfortunately, people with brown skin have a harder time. I'm a white male, and yeah, I've been guilty of white privilege in my life. And we have to be able to see every single person. And so the reason I brought It's Me out is just because we can't marginalize or oppress or suppress the groups anymore. We have to be willing to not only accept them, but to embrace and like celebrate and champion them. So that's what I was looking for.
Yeah. I know the book is just launching when this is going to be heard by folks, but has there been any early reaction to the book from your beta readers or other folks that you've shared it with?
Yeah, I've had a focus group and some beta readers, and they are just super fired up, ready for it to come out. And, I think it's definitely a book that's needed. It's going to be really useful for teachable moments. And it's upper elementary through high school. But it's, I think, going to be great for social emotional learning, for acceptance, and, kind of throughout not only education, but this is a real world book, and I think it's going to open some eyes. And I definitely took a risk on my publisher too, so it's exciting.
Interesting that you say that you took a risk. In what way?
Well, today everyone's so concerned about this or that, and so I'm talking about a girl who is a lesbian, and I'm talking about a boy who is black, and he's a darn good athlete. And that's not just who he is. He struggles in certain areas. And I'm talking about an amazing boy that has ADHD, or a boy in a wheelchair. Oh, I'm sorry, he's also in the Special Olympics and rocks at basketball. It's just like, you don't know who these people are. And just because you have a girl who is Latina and she speaks another language, she has amazing things from her culture that we don't know about, right? And so we have these kids in our school and our communities, and that's who we are. It doesn't mean they're terrorists or arsonists or going to break laws or go to jail. That's who we are as the melting pot, and we need to put a little bit more compassion into that, because we're getting in trouble here. We're getting in trouble, and we got to change.
You're right. We do tend to put labels on people, not just by race or orientation, but the athlete, the musician, the dancer. My daughter was the dancer, and everybody had this image of what she was going to do. She was the girl who was the lead in all the school musicals and whatnot. And when she let the world know in high school that that wasn't her future, that wasn't the future that she was seeing for herself, people had a real hard time with that. There was a young man that my son played football with, this incredible athlete. And I remember sitting down with him, talking to him, and he was the quarterback, he was a football player, he was a star athlete. And after graduation, I mentioned to him, I said, Dad, you're going to play in college. And he turned to me, he said, I hate football. I've never liked football. I've always hated it. I only did it because my dad wanted me to do it. We don't take time to look beyond that, that initial impression. Do you think that that's always been a human tendency, or do you think it's something that's getting magnified right now because we have all these distractions and we're so busy?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. We have so many amazing people that we see the image or persona of, but we don't know. Like, take Eddie Van Halen, right? He died the other day from cancer. I love Van Halen. But did we know that Eddie suffered from alcoholism and drug addiction and went to rehab and used to, put his metal picks in his mouth, and that's how he thinks, the doctors, and he thinks he developed tongue cancer that way? I didn't know that. And, he was a really, they called him, one of the guitar geniuses of the world, like a prodigy, right? And, I've seen over the last couple of years, you see these amazing athletes that they say, I don't want to be a role model. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, you're a beautiful black man who kicks rockin' butt in the arena, either whatever you are. You know what? You got kids looking up to you. I'm sorry, but you got to accept that. And so we have to get deeper than, and start peeling those onion layers because, like Michael Phelps, right, suffered from huge depression and anxiety. And you just see these people that we think are so perfect that you don't know what's going on, right? And you don't know where they're living or what their story is until we want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. One of the things that you were mentioning was that people are really excited about It's Me because, especially educators, because they think it's going to be a great help in teaching some of those social, emotional skills. Before the show, you and I were talking about the fact that teachers are really being asked to do a lot. Some people would argue too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
This idea of teaching social emotional skills, this is something that's really new. I think that this is something that people just assumed was taught at home. Again, do you think that do you think it was like that when you and I were growing up, everybody got those lessons at home and then that stopped happening? Or is it just we're waking up and understanding, hey, we need to do more of that kind of teaching with kids at a young age?
Yeah, I think we're seeing the difference now and identifying things. Like, when I was a kid, I would have been described as ADHD or diagnosed. And you know what? That would have meant my teaching, the instruction that I was given would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't sit still. I couldn't figure out anything. And I had teachers who couldn't stand it, right? And so now we're identifying different things and we're trying to individualize different things. But to be perfectly honest, we're asking way too much of teachers, right? And so the teachers are doing this synchronized online lessons. They're doing asynchronized lessons. They're trying to set up small groups. They're trying to do all this. And if your school is completely virtual and online, give them some grace. They're struggling right now. And then hybrid teachers, we have them getting sick. They're anxious about COVID. They're not being supported, whatever it is. Oh, it's a mess. And then, we have our whole, kind of government presidential stuff going on. We have racial stuff. And so it's all coming into the schools and everyone feels that pressure. Mm-hmm. And it's crummy. I talked to a principal friend of mine today and he says, I want to quit. Mm. I said, dude, what's going on? He's like, teachers cannot be expected to do what they are doing every single day. He said, it's just wrong. It's completely wrong. And bless them. They don't make nearly enough money. And it's rough right now what they're being asked to do.
Yeah. And I don't know what it's like in Northern California or in other parts of the country, but I imagine it's pretty much the same as it is here in Massachusetts. They're doing this virtual learning without a lot of training. It's like, hey, just go home and teach online. My daughter earned her college degree in an online program. It was wonderful. It was an amazing experience for her. But it was designed to be delivered online, and so it worked. And it wasn't a teacher sitting in her makeshift studio, classroom, bedroom, in a camera holding up a book and saying, do you see this? And this is, and trying to figure out how to do Zoom presentations. There was more thought put into it, and I don't think that the leaders on any level have put enough thought into this, and a lot is being thrown at teachers and saying, here you go, fix it.
Yeah, there's so many technology tools out there, but it gets to be too overwhelming, and so many things get thrown on you, right? And so I think, the teachers over the last 5 years that have been embedding technology into their lessons, like there's a guy named John Carippo who co-wrote a book with Marlena Hebern called Edu Protocols. And a lot of it are it's good quality lesson planning instruction, but it's got ways to deliver it online, right? And so then teachers now, they have Flipgrid and Pear Deck and, Seesaw and so many different mediums. It's overwhelming, right? Then you got kids, like if they're not being, danced in front of them, they might, close their camera down or, zone out. And so, so you're the teacher that might be in your classroom or at home or out front because you're trying to do something different, science experiment, do this. They were not, unless they specifically focus on this last couple of years. They weren't designed to do this.
Yeah.
And, the pedagogy changes, the methods change, and bless them, and so I love to see the creativity and ingenuity, but also, I go on Twitter and I just see these poor educators melting down and they want to quit.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah. The best thing is when a teacher is expected to teach kids in person and online at the same time. The hybrid situation where half the kids come in on Monday and Tuesday and the other half stay home and watch it on Zoom. And I give all props to teachers, man, because they're in it right now and they're in it for our kids. And so, big shout out to all the teachers out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. This writing that you've had, you're coming at it not late in your career, but you certainly didn't start off life as a children's author. How's it feeling for you? Is this, the next step in your journey?
I don't know if it's the next step. It's a step. It's wonderful. It's fulfilling. I do it to spread the messages. Don't make much money. But if I have a positive effect and can kind of change the outcome of someone's life for a positive way, then I'm all in it. I love education. I love working with students and teachers, and that's where I'm kind of finding my way through. But I love writing, and I didn't really discover my ability to write, books and messages until later. But it's enjoyable, and you know what? Why not have different careers when you're 50 or 60 or 70? It's keeps us fresh, I think, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think now that I'm almost turning 100, I have to get a new career myself. Jeff, tell everybody where they can go online to find out more about you, to find out more about It's Me and your other book.
So One Drop of Kindness and It's Me, they'll be available. Well, One Drop of Kindness is available on kind of all your outlets, your Amazon, your Barnes & Noble. I have a website, jeffkubiak.com, and I'm going through a creative change on that one now. But both books will be on there, and I have a ton of free resources. I don't ever charge for giving free things away. At Jeffrey Kubiak on Twitter, and Jeff Kubiak Author on Instagram. And so connect with me. Let's get together and figure out a way to be more kind and inclusive.
Absolutely. We've had a great time speaking to our friend, the author of It's Me, Jeff Kubiak. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us again.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Victoria Bond. She'll be here to celebrate her book, Zora and Me, The Summoner. This is a really, really fascinating conversation. You don't want to miss it. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, be sure to mark your calendars. We are going to be reading in the new year, a great virtual online literacy event that you and your family are just going to adore. And if you are an author and would like to be part of our Reading in the New Year event, please be sure to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button and let us know. It's really going to be a lot of fun. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, want to thank our guest, Jeff Kubiak. Be sure to check out It's Me. Also want to thank my team, Alejandra Doherty, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.